This is Mia Yu, and I had my parent meeting, and I'm now going to interview two of the parents who took this meeting. Okay, Rob and Anna, thank you for coming to my parent meeting. I was looking at your survey, and I just wanted to ask you again, would you want the church to offer more of these type of classes for parents?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
Okay, and why do you say that?
Well, it was actually really good because it provides Bible-based practical application, right? So things that you might have learned to apply to yourself, or things you might have learned or seen in the Bible, but then you don't actually think about how to apply it in your parenting and your day-to-day with your kids. So it was really good for that, and also just a lot of reminders of like what we're supposed to be doing with our kids. I think we forget in the day-to-day, we forget in like all the other things that we occupy our time with our kids with, and it just brought it back to the basics of this is what the Bible tells us we should be doing with our kids.
Yeah, and I think we all need it. But I think a lot of parents, even like even for us, we didn't know that we needed it. In addition to our growth in faith, we need to do just as much for our children because they are modeling right after us, and we're not perfect people either. So, and it also kind of brings us back to where we need to be as well as parents. And there's no, there isn't anything in the way of, being good parents about how to be. I guess there are if you are, really studying the Bible like we all should be. The fact of the matter is, you don't. And to be good stewards of our kids, sometimes we need to be led and guided in that direction.
Good. Okay. I saw that you put that you were interested in learning more about practical biblical principles to apply. Tell me more about that. What did you mean by that when you wrote that?
It's I think every aspect of our lives we could find the answers in the Bible, and it's how we're blessed with us knowing that whenever we have difficulties or challenges, or even during the good times, we could go back to the Bible and understand how God designed us, and to be as individuals, a married couple, and also as parents, we could do the same thing. I think we're also able to look at the Bible and lead our kids and lead our children in a way that's I'm just gonna go based on what I did what I wanted to do, what I thought was right, and it wasn't right. And there's been sleepless nights. There's been times when I went to bed in agony, pain and agony, because I know what I did was wrong. I just didn't know how wrong I was. So yes, that's the reason why I think it's good to have just some basic biblical principles in terms of parenting that many of us, at least I wasn't fully aware of. So, and it helps. And even when we know it, we need to be reminded yet again, just so that we remember.
I like what you said about like being constantly reminded, right? Because it can fall to the wayside in our busy lives and everything. Okay, Anna, you wrote that you were interested in learning more about biblical discipline and conversations about puberty and sex. So tell me, elaborate on that, on biblical discipline. Like, what do you want to see more of on that level?
I think this was really just because personally, that's something that I've been struggling with myself. I know discipline based on what my parents used as discipline, but that's not necessarily biblical. And I go based on kind of what I think is right and what I've and then of course, like, you've got to go back to the Bible and see what the Bible says, but there's a lot of things in the Bible, so it would be helpful to have a class that specifically focuses on that and how to do it in a way that's loving. And I think one thing that you touched on in the class was, without the heart connection with your child, the discipline, it turns into something that's bad, actually, and you lose the connection with and then it doesn't result in the goal that you had in disciplining them, really. And it just turns into rules and breaking rules, and it turns into the cycle of like setting up a rule and then a broken rule and then another rule and setting up all these rules, and it can lead to broken relationship and injuries to their hearts that may or may not get resolved. And so that's something that I actually would like a little bit, another class, maybe even just focused on that, just to get maybe even more, dig in a little bit more on how we can be disciplining our kids and what we should be doing when we discipline our kids, what condition our hearts should be in when we're disciplining our kids, and not in anger. So that is why I put that down there, because that's actually just something that I am going through right now with our own kids.
Yeah, because there are some topics, I think, as parenting, as we become parents of kids that are getting older and older and older year by year, there are some topics that I just like, hey, we kind of push it onto each other. Hey, you're gonna take care of that one, because we're either uncomfortable or have no knowledge of it, and there are no clear answers as to how we're supposed to broach certain subjects, for that matter. Talking about sexuality with your children is not the most, it's not my choice of discussion when I talk to my kids, but it comes up, right? It comes up, and I'd rather them hear from us than somebody else.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. One of the questions I was supposed to ask you was, how could we improve this parent meeting? And you both said you can't think of anything. But here's my question. Like, in terms of like, did you like the interaction where you get to share, like different parents get to share what they do in their home or examples? Do you prefer that, or do you like instructional, like where you're just being taught and not ask questions? In terms of format, was there anything you felt like was uncomfortable or you preferred more of?
I personally like the interaction, and I like hearing from other parents. One, because you're like, yes, I'm not by myself. We're not going through this. We're not the only ones. But also you can learn from what other parents are doing too, because some parents shared some of the things that they were doing with their kids that I thought was really great, and things that I would like to do with our own kids. So I thought it was good to have the sharing, and I guess maybe more sharing. I don't know, like that. I thought it was a good balance, because you had the instruction, and then we had an opportunity to share, or you asked people to share with respect to a specific topic. So I thought that was good. I liked that we got to take away the slides that you had prepared, so that we had reminders if we weren't taking notes about what we had talked about. And I don't know. I do really like the sharing. I think that was a big part of our learning.
Anything else y'all want to add in?
Everybody should take this class.
Everybody needs this class.
Everybody needs this
Every parent. You know what? Even if you don't have kids.
Yeah, I think if you're thinking about having kids, I think you should have this class too, because I think again, a very good reminder if you already knew, and if you didn't, then kind of eye-opening in terms of what you may or may not be doing correctly with your kids.
Yeah, because I think the biggest takeaway for me when I took this class was if there's a flaw in you, when you become parents, you will be exposed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
And it's just another, again, not to reuse the word over and over again, but just a constant reminder that we have a long way to go, and as parents, it's even longer. So this class was, although we know all this, I guess the way to put it all together and apply it to parenting is I think it's very good.
Okay. Well, it definitely reminds us that we all really, really need Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks, guys.